Hey everyone, I am going to just do a quick update on something that has come up after I put up the post about how Team DM is currently neglected in arena first person shooters specifically, and that is I've been toying around with actually having control points in Team DM. I picked Unreal Tournament because it has the most robust like modding system, so Unreal Tournament 4 has this, but it also has a couple of other things to go with it as well. So one of the points that has come up recently when talking about this topic in general has been that I've kind of noticed that when it comes to team deathmatch, if you look at King of the Hill, variation of King of the Hill, which is payload, which is a moving King of the Hill, and then you have things like domination or multiple control points like capture points. All of those are just more complex variations of team deathmatch, where ultimately there's just points. Now, the reason why I can get away with saying that is because when you really think about it, team deathmatch in an arena shooter, the pickups, the weapons, the health, all of these things fall into that same category as basically control points. They're a different kind of control point. It's a different flavor of the same thing. So I actually feel that control points and payload and things of that nature are actually all branches off of the same team deathmatch concept, and that there's a stronger correlation between this and say if I was to compare it to capture the flag being uh, a moving point that like an item that you're carrying and you need to bring it to a goal at the end, or you need to capture that item, and then you got to guard the person like VIP would be another example of a mode that I would not consider being team deathmatch. I actually feel that capture the flag and derivatives where it's like bombing run, stuff like that, don't actually fall into the category of team deathmatch. Those are like a different style. Well, anyway, now that I made that point, I had a lot of discussion with people on Reddit regarding the topic of team deathmatch. I've also went on to the forums and for UT4 and asked around about what I can and what I can't do with the technology easily. Once again, I've run into the same problems that I always run into whenever I'm trying to mod anything with UT4, is that they don't care to properly support blueprints in UT4. This is going to bite them in the ass in the long run. Like they can say, oh well, it's good for now. It's going to bite them in the ass in the long run. Like they're going to make the game and they're going to have everything all set up, and all of the user content is just going to be having to hack around the C++. Well, anyway, I'm salty about that because you have fucking blueprints and you do fucking use them. Anyway, I'm just all right. Let's just leave that. Let's just not talk about it. The blueprint system is extremely powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful things to happen with game development tools in recent history. But with that said, I have actually began setting up basic control points. I have a variation of the Showdown uh, control point game mode, and Showdown is a mode that I have to show you how it works if you haven't ever seen it before. So basically, what you'll see right now is a very like a very weird display. I'll explain what you're looking at while it's happening. Okay, so in Showdown
Select your
there
spawn
are
location.
spawn locations, right? So what I have done is I have programmed it so that there are spawn locations that are on control points, right? So you have to select a spawn point.
New round in three,
So now
two, one.
there are these spawn points that you can run up to and you can capture them. Now it doesn't say anything right now, and I might have just done something to break it, but oh, it's pretty fucking annoying having these guys. But now that I walked over this one, and then I walked over this one, and then right now all you have to do is touch it in order to capture it. And then I walk over this one. And Showdown game mode is round based. So watch what happens now when it tells me to pick a control point.
Select your spawn location.
Oh, I broke it. Let me take a look real quick. Oh yeah. The most important part. I just unhooked the most important part because I'm about to go through and fix this. I apologize for this. But basically what happens is when you walk over the control point, you'll see a widget in the center that shows you capturing it, and it'll take about 5 seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds. And then once you capture it, now you can actually spawn at it. So let me show it properly and correct in this sort of correct way. So I'm selecting my spawn location. So like when you first start out, there are these spawn locations that are just default, but they're like farther outside of the level.
2, 1.
But then you can run up with your teammates, capture this, deny this guy all of the guns because he can fuck himself. Let's see if I can capture more of these points. Alright, yeah, alright. I got this one, I got this one, and I got this one. So now he can only spawn at the other one, unless he decided to capture one of them for some reason, but he didn't. So now I kill him. For some reason in this game mode they start off with like a ridiculous amount of health, and the sensitivity in the editor is just wrist aiming newbies. So now that I went through and I captured all those points, when it tells me to choose one, so right now this is his turn to choose one. Alright, now you see I can pick all of these. So now I can spawn here because I captured this point.
2, 1.
And that's pretty much the gist of it. I think actually I could do everything that I talked about on the UT4 forums with just this. So I'm gonna have to spruce this up a little bit. I noticed that there are, like, I found this blueprint here, which is a pretty neat thing. I'm using the same graphic on this, and it looks an awful lot like control points in Overwatch, for example. And I'll probably put like a dynamic light so that it has like a color that changes. And these things do this as well. These blueprints are kind of the same way. They're like they're they allow me to choose like what team it's for. So if it's blue, and I guess you could do green and yellow team. I'm only gonna do two teams, but you see how it like changes the color of the light and everything like that. So I'll have a few of these sprinkled through the level. I might actually use one of their existing levels. The only difference that I'm gonna make to the level, other than just like modifying weapon pickups and stuff like that, I forget the name of the level, but it's a snowy castle map that I'm probably just going to modify. But I want to have the default spawn points actually sitting a little bit outside of the level, so that you kind of have to come in and maybe you have a couple of routes, maybe one or two routes into the center of, into the actual level itself. So like both teams start like outside of the level and kind of like run and choose their path to get in, and then you have these control points, and then you have the pickups that are just all, and it's basically just showdown as usual, except now you have to actually capture the spawn points in order to be able to, and they can cap them back. Like you have to be careful like to defend the control points so that you can have the best ones. So with that said, there will actually be like there's obviously better control points. Like I think this actually will make the showdown game mode a lot more interesting. And I would like to hear what other people's feedback is. Now, when I had the discussion on Reddit and talking about a lot of stuff, there were a lot of other things that are not really being included in this, like uneven weapons, like tiered, like a more defined tiered weapon system, dropping backpacks, stuff like that, like things that I talked about, like maybe making a new level. I might just make a new level where it's more choke pointy. It's much more team oriented feeling. Like Showdown is an interesting game mode because it's already taking team deathmatch, but these control points might actually work fine for team deathmatch, just regular team deathmatch. I like the like if there was a variation of the Showdown mode where you can choose where to spawn on the map whenever you're respawning, and you can see where your buddies are. Like that actually might be really cool. I don't know how easy that would be to set up, but I can't really modify too many things because again, we're dealing with limitations because they're not using blueprints for most of the logic. But with that said, I can actually get away with doing some pretty neat stuff with this right now without actually having to really fuck around too much. So pretty much everything that I need to do is dependent on these control points. So the first thing I need to actually do with the control point is I gotta unhook all this shit again. Make it so that I have to make it so that uh, you have to stand on the control point for a set amount of time, and then I have to have a widget that sits. I have to have a widget that sits in the center. That's kind of like a billboard. That fills up when you can, while you're capturing the point. It has to be kind of high so that it doesn't. I don't know. I would do a HUD widget, but I can't because I mean I could probably just add a HUD widget, but it's really messy if I'm not adding the HUD widget and just hiding it when the player character is first created. If you try to do it at any other time, you risk having multiple of the same HUD widget just like stacked on top of each other, and it gets messy. I really prefer putting HUD widgets onto the player when the player spawns. So it happens once, and when the player dies, it dies with the player, and it's just like part of the player's creation process. But I mean, I could hack it just so that it's exactly like Overwatch, where it says capturing, like up here on the screen, and a bar filling up, and then if somebody from the other team jumps onto the point, then I can say contested. So you should be able to actually contest these points. So if you see somebody who's capping and you want to stop them, you can actually run on and like start shooting and scare them off of it, and it'll actually contest the point. It'll freeze the countdown. I'm thinking it'll take about, maybe I should go for a full 10 seconds, but whatever I'm doing with that, like it shouldn't be too hard to set up the logic on the blueprint. Basically, yeah, if this array is larger than 0, then I can do logic for that. Basically, it's just checking to see if there are UT characters within that thing. It does it once every second, which might not be the most efficient way to do it, but the thing is that this isn't being replicated over the network. This is all on the server, so it's probably not that expensive, and it's only happening once every second. Uh, and that's really it. Like setting up the widget and all that stuff should be really straightforward. Uh, I'll probably have this done tonight, and I'll do another update on exactly what I do. Now, this doesn't have, like I said before, just a simple thing. This is actually getting a little bit too long, this video, but this doesn't necessarily have to just be a thing for team deathmatch. I mean, for showdown, it can be a thing that appears in regular team DM. And if anyone has any ideas on different variations of this stuff like this, because these things can really, really change the rules. Oh, and one last thing, the original idea for this was that the control point would modify what weapons are available, and then the team would have some kind of like ownership over those pickups. That can't be done right now. And actually, in the showdown game mode, it's not even necessary. But in regular Team DM, it would make a lot more sense that if you have the control point, it's not just a spawn point. It's like some kind of advantage that's related to the actual pickups in the game, which I think is the arena shooters brand of control point to begin with. So it's almost kind of this like extra redundant thing, but it's more transparent. People understand control points. People understand that if I own this, then I have cooler shit, right? I think it actually makes it clear to the average player. And there's just a lot of different ideas that can go with it. But it's so easy to do, and I'll probably sit down and mess around with it. I won't do a time lapse of it or anything like that. But I'd like to hear what anybody, any thoughts that anyone has. And I'm probably going to end this video right now. It's already too long. So yeah, that's that. I just pretty much updated everything. Let me know what you have in mind if you have any ideas.